This is Capitol View.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jay Bir. We are just over a month away from the first day of school, and as schools work on their COVID-19 plans, we want to check in with Secretary of Education Johnny Key. And, you know, boss, I'm sure it's been a real busy time for you here the past few weeks. What's sort of life been like for you as we're starting to get into some of the districts having to start submitting their plans and everything like that?
Yeah, well, good morning, Jay. Thanks for having me on today. Yeah, it's very busy. Obviously, you know, our collaboration and work with the state health department continues. We are starting to get feedback and plans from districts around the state on how they are implementing the Ready for Learning guidance, how they plan to create safe environments for students, teachers, and staff to come back to in August. So very busy time, but you know, what I sense and a lot of the feedback we're getting in those districts is where they're having those good community conversations, bringing teachers and parents into the conversation now and into the planning process. There's definitely a lot of comfort being generated with those local plans, and that's really where a lot of this needs to happen.
I know we've already pushed back the first week of school here in Arkansas. Is there any chance that can get pushed back even further, or is it, you know, full steam ahead on this, obviously depending on if this pandemic really takes hold?
Well, you know, I think if you look at what's happened this week with the governor issuing a statewide mask mandate, you know, the idea, the hope is that some of these hot spots will cool off a bit. And so right now, you know, we're looking at that week of the 24th as the go-to date. Obviously, as the governor has said all along, as health data comes in, as we see what's happening out there, there's always room to reevaluate. But right now, we're looking forward to starting school that last week in August.
I guess looking ahead here, how do we ensure that every teacher is as comfortable as they can be when it comes to re-entering their buildings? And obviously, I know a lot of this will be put on the district levels to make sure of those things. But when looking at those plans, you know, what are those things that you guys are looking for, especially when it comes to some of those social guidelines? Because, you know, as we know, school buildings are what they are, and you can't really expand those a whole lot. So what are some of the specific things that you guys are looking at when it comes to approving some of those plans?
Well, you know, one important component is that schools are planning and they're surveying their parents. And, you know, in some districts, as many as 25, 30% of their parents are saying, look, we're not comfortable sending our kids on site. That's why we ask districts to create those blended learning options. So when you know that when you can plan when you know how many kids are not going to be on site, and then make adjustments to the physical plant, to the classrooms, to the other common spaces that kids are going to use. And teachers, I think, will become more, and it's not just teachers, it's parents, it's all the support staff, that as those local conversations are held, as communication takes place, as there's growing understanding of the plans at the local level, then I think a lot of those fears and concerns can be dealt with. You know, Jay, being a Sunday morning, I think it's a good time. My pastor shot me a text a few days ago, Bronson Duke at New Life downtown. He said, you know, Johnny, remember, you know, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I really believe that as teachers, as superintendents, as principals, as parents engage in those conversations, that fear can be replaced with that power of collaboration. You know, knowing that we're trying to get these school buildings open for our kids because they really need to be there. They missed 9 weeks in the spring. We want to minimize any further impact, negative impact that closing for on-site instruction would bring.
And I guess kind of going back to that last 9 weeks, from what you guys have seen, heard, do you think distance learning actually worked? And then I guess on top of that, looking forward, you know, how much do you think students are behind when it comes to that? Because I know there was a lot of emphasis on review in that previous 9 weeks, and I know, you know, you look at kindergartners going into first grade, for example, a lot of that last 9 weeks, you know, you're kind of building in some of those basic math things, addition, subtraction, so they're already kind of behind the 8 ball there. Are we worried about that going forward?
Well, I think we have a good plan devised to address that. We brought, even back in the spring, we brought teachers in when they were working and teaching remotely. We asked them to come together to create a playbook so that the teachers coming into this fall would have tools and resources to cover those essential standards. We know there are things that a student needs in kindergarten that are a must-have, not just when they get to first grade, but when they get to second grade, third grade, in the middle school. That was one of the first resources we developed, and we feel very confident that teachers are going to be able to use those resources to meet the needs of those students. It's hard to say, how far our students are going to be behind, because students progress at their own rate anyway. We know that summer creates a situation where some students have the summer slide, some students really don't. But the tools we've provided will really help teachers look at where their students are and make those determinations for how to address that interrupted learning.
And I guess, too, one of the big concerns that I've heard from teachers personally is just the health and well-being, and especially of some of the older teachers, because, we know that it's an aging population here in Arkansas at the very least. But we see a lot of times that children will get sent to school when they are sick. And I know there's always kind of that rule of, make sure you're fever-free, but that doesn't always get followed. I guess, too, and again, this may be more of a district thing, but from the state level, what are you guys recommending when it comes to having to deal with children who are sick, and especially for maybe that more at-risk population when it comes to teachers?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one thing that I've said is, Jay, we can't give up on trusting people to do the right thing, and that means parents, too. We are asking parents, look, don't send your child. If your child's sick, if your child's running a fever or has run a fever in the last 48 hours, don't put your child on that bus Monday morning, or don't put your child on that, or drop your child off at school. We know it happens. It happens during flu season. It happens. So we know that that's likely to happen. And we've also provided guidance so our school nurses, so our teachers can recognize when it's time to get a kid separated from the rest of the class, creating a space that would be an isolated space for that child to go and be cared for until a parent or caregiver can come and pick up that child. So there are measures in place for that. There are measures in place for cleaning. We have provided, or we will be providing, screening kits. So if a district decides to screen staff or students, we are providing through state funds kits that would help them do that. Doesn't meet all the needs, but it's certainly a place to start for them if they choose to do that. It's going to be provided for every district in the state, and also some sanitizing foggers. We are using state funds to provide those as well, so that every district would have access to a fogger in case they need it to do a little additional sanitization if they do have a positive case on campus.
Well, it's a very fluid situation, we do understand, and we'll probably have to bring you back in here once we get a little closer to that time for school. Department of Education Commissioner Johnny Key, we certainly appreciate the time.
Thank you, Jay.
All right. Well, when we come back, we talk to the president of the local university about how the campus will fight COVID-19 and how they're going to have classes fall at the higher ed level. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Expand your living space into nature with well-designed and professionally installed landscaping from The Good Earth. We can create a family-friendly outdoor gathering place that is comfortable and inviting. Visit thegoodEarthGarden.com to get started. The Good Earth Garden Center, where wonder grows.
If you or someone you love has been diagnosed with cancer and you routinely took Zantac for more than 6 months, you may be entitled to compensation. In April 2020, the FDA announced a mandatory recall of the popular heartburn medication Zantac, ordering the removal of Zantac and all its generic versions from store shelves because the drug contains probable cancer-causing ingredients. If you have cancer and you took Zantac, contact the Duncan Firm now at 877-638-6226 or duncanfirm.com.
When it comes to our health, lately there have been more questions than answers. The fact is, Central Arkansas hospitals and physicians' offices have never been more safe or prepared to care for you. And your wellness checks, emergencies, and surgeries don't need to wait. In fact, your health depends on it, no question. Get the care you need right now. Take care, Arkansas.
I love shoes. You find them in the store, you know, they like call you, but they hurt. The best ones hurt the worst. And you're walking around going, I don't want anyone to know that I'm not happy. Stuck in the arch supports, and I felt so much better. I'd say Good Feet helped with all of my great shoes. They turned out to be something that actually works for me. My name is Ava, and that's my Good Feet story.
See for yourself with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
It's in our nature to explore the possibilities and embrace the unknown. We travel the same road, knowing the unexpected may occur. When you need us, we'll be there. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. Arkansas's motorcycle lawyers.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View. We just went through what K-12 schools will look like this fall, but what about higher ed? And here to help us paint that picture is president of the University of Central Arkansas, Houston Davis. And boss, we certainly appreciate the time in here. I guess just first and foremost, what kind of just general precautions is UCA taking when it comes to the fall?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's the health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff that we have to look out for. So a lot of the precautions that we're taking during these run-up to the fall semester beginning is getting into the routine of knowing what physical distancing looks like, being able to model the face covering wearing, making certain that we've got a good process and protocol in place for the cleaning of facilities, for the disinfecting and the cleaning of high-touch areas around campus. Every doorknob, every button on an elevator, all those sorts of things that you think about that you touch in the course of a day. The summer months have provided us the opportunity to do a lot of trial runs so that when we do have faculty, staff, and students in larger numbers, obviously back on campus in the fall, we're not just doing that from ground zero.
And I guess, too, how does this sort of change what the college experience is going to be like? I mean, obviously, you know, we're talking about the social distancing, you know, don't come up each other, but I mean, we're talking about 18 to 20-year-old 22-year-old children here. You know, you've got the fraternity row there. I mean, I guess in your opinion, you know, how does this sort of change what we normally think of when we go to college?
Yeah, well, I mean, probably whatever comes to your mind, lay that to the side because it's going to be very different. One thing I'll remind everyone of is that all of our students, whether it's our returning students or our new students that are recently graduated high school seniors, they're not coming to us having lived in a bubble for the last 4 months. They've been experiencing what this new normal looks like. They've been experiencing what it means to be able to or be required to have a face covering. They've been experiencing what it means to go into restaurants, for instance, and see that a table set for 100 are now set for more like 30. That's what the college classroom is going to feel like. I mean, for any of our classes that are going to meet in person, all of those classroom spaces are having to be reset to allow that physical distancing. I mean, every single class is having to be redesigned or at least provide accommodations that ensure that we can have that safe physical distancing. So whatever you have in mind when you're thinking about going to a college classroom and settling into a desk to be able to take a course, think about doing that with a third to a half as many people around you, and think about much less interaction in small groups in that classroom setting. So it's going to be different, but we're committed to high quality teaching and learning opportunities, and we're going to be up to the challenge.
And I guess something that K-12 here doesn't have to deal with is out-of-staters. Obviously, you're going to have a pretty diverse population coming from all parts of the country, hotspots, non-hotspots, even international students. What's being done to kind of, I don't say necessarily cater to their needs, because I think all the needs are about the same, but to really make sure that everybody's on the up and up when it comes to health, when it comes to safety, and especially from that international community where, you know, things in different countries might be a little different than how they're being operated here?
Yeah, certainly. Well, I'll address the international students first, and that certainly is population here at UCA that we're very proud to have among our numbers. I mean, one of the things we've stayed in constant communication with those international students that did go home for the summer months. And I say that because many of them went ahead and opted to stay here and stay on campus for the summer. That was an important step with those returning students. But with new students that are coming to us internationally, we're making certain to communicate with them. We're encouraging them to go ahead and make their transition a little earlier to campus than they might perhaps have thought about. And that will allow us to be able, if there are going to be any quarantine issues that we have to attend to, that allows the time to be able to do that. But it also allows us to go through a little bit more of an orientation process about how our university is going to be operating during the next year. But for our students returning from around the country, if you go back 90 days ago, there was much talk about, well, if a student's coming from this state or if a faculty member is coming from some other out-of-state location, well, that might be a hotspot. Well, the entirety of America have become hotspots one at a time. So that has sort of changed. I mean, 90 days removed from that point, really all of our students that will be coming in from out of state, we know, of course, they are subject to the protocol in their states, and we're making certain to communicate with them that they know what Arkansas and what UCA's expectations are going to be of them as well. And a little the same thing, encouraging them to go ahead and move in a little early. Our move-in dates for those students that are going to elect to be in university housing will certainly be earlier than they normally are. We usually are just 2-3 days prior to the fall semester. We're extending that by about a week period to allow those adjustment periods to go through.
And in UCA, I mean, obviously, we've seen this in K-12, also going to more virtual learning, online things. What's the Bears' capacity here to handle maybe what is likely to be a bigger influx of that type of learning experience?
Yeah, so if you were to take part the entire fall semester, there are 2,500 courses offered at UCA. That's what we have on the books for this next fall. And one thing that I would stress is that all 2,500 of those courses, at the very least, you would probably characterize as a hybrid course relative to what they've been in the past. I think even our courses that still remain majority of the time in person, they will still be utilizing technology, remote learning, a little bit of self-paced, independent learning expectations of the students. But we will, UCA is not a university that has a heavy percentage of our coursework as well as programs that are typically online. We're very much a residential collegiate campus, but this year we do expect that from the get-go, and program by program, 30% to about 50% of courses, depending upon the program offered here at the university, will be really online from the beginning this fall. Because again, that's going to be important. We have students that they very much are only wanting to take online courses. Maybe that's because of their own personal health considerations or their own choices. And then we've got a lot of students that are wanting to be residential. It's going to be critical that we be able to extend options to those students so that whether someone wants to be residential all the way through 100% online, that they can put their course of study for the fall semester and then even into the spring semester together and do that with confidence.
Oh, so that's just a glimpse of what it will potentially look like at UCA. But again, this is a very, very fluid situation. President of the university, Houston Davis, boss, we certainly do appreciate the time, and you're welcome back here on the Cap anytime.
Hey, Jay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and attention and all that you do.
All right, I appreciate you. All right, when we come back, mask mandates, empty ballparks. Kanye, is he still running for president? Who knows? We got that coming up next here on Capitol View. You're watching that Sunday morning.
While the world may seem like it's upside down right now, there's never been a better time to develop new habits for a healthier world, like walking more and driving less to cut down on harmful ground-level ozone. Learn more at ozoneactiondays.org.
3, 2, 1, Cannonball! It's the biggest, wettest, wildest water competition ever.
Mike the Miz Mizanin hosts Cannonball.
Flop it like it's hot.
Tonight on NBC.
I was a professional wrestler. I had a really bad injury. I can show people you can keep going forward no matter what.
She is a beast. Oh, my God.
The Titan Games, Monday on NBC. Real estate auction by Fowler Auctioneers. Attention cattlemen, land and timber buyers. 183 acres of land selling at public auction in Cattle Gap, Arkansas, presented by Fowler Auctioneers. Live auction will be Thursday, July 23rd at 10 a.m. Over 100 acres of prime pasture land and 80 acres of pine, mixed hardwood, and white oak timber. Live auction will be July 23rd at 10 a.m. or you can pre-bid your price now at FowlerAuctioneers.com. Auctioneer Nick Fowler, license number 162. Fowler Auctioneers Incorporated, sold in 30 days.
There are now more options than ever to enjoy tzatziki's. Our Mediterranean menu is full of healthy and original favorites that are available for dine-in, delivery, takeout, curbside, and drive-through at select locations. We've implemented safety procedures to protect both our guests and our crews. Order online at tzatziki's.com or download our app today. Thank you for your continued support.
Custom Landscape and Nursery is located 20 miles outside of Conway. We're an 80-acre nursery. We grow 75 to 80% of our material ourselves, so it's acclimated to our climate, which is a little bit different than the material that's brought in. I know when people come out to the nursery, they always refer to the fact they've really never seen a nursery like this. I'd like to invite y'all to come out and to check out the nursery. I promise you it'll be a nursery like none you've ever seen before. Visit our Facebook page or our website at customlandscapeandnursery.com.
While the world may seem like it's upside down right now, there's never been a better time to develop new habits for a healthier world, like working from home rather than commuting to cut down on harmful ground-level ozone. Learn more at ozoneactiondays.org.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back into Capitol View. Governor Asa Hutchinson issued a statewide mask mandate last Thursday. He said he could no longer justify the COVID-19 case numbers without one.
The number of COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are numbers that speak for themselves and indicate that we need to do more.
Which is why Governor Hutchinson issued this executive order to get all of Arkansas on board with wearing masks.
We have to meet the challenge together, and everyone must do their part, and this is a way to enlist the support of everyone.
He has been resistant to it in the past, citing a more widespread acceptance for it, which he says has now changed his opinion.
I don't believe that government coercion should be the first thing that you turn to. I hesitate about that, and we look at other alternatives, including education. And if you're going to have a mandate or a law or a requirement, there has to be some level of acceptance for that.
When asked if he has changed his mind on re-implementing restrictions that were in place, he says masks are the best way to balance that out.
Whenever you can make sure that we don't have to close our businesses or put more restrictions on, this is the best tool and best opportunity that we have.
He says there's no sure thing with COVID-19, but a minor hassle for people is something everyone can do to help.
There's no guarantee that we're going to have an immediate reversal of the case numbers that we have right now, but it is the tool that we can utilize and everybody can participate in. That is an inconvenience, but it is of minimal disruption.
There won't be a lot of politicians at next month's Democratic National Convention in Wisconsin. Democratic members of the U.S. House and Senate have been told not to travel to Milwaukee for the three-day event. Democrats have pared back their convention and made it a more virtual event because of the coronavirus pandemic. In June, delegates were told not to attend the event slated for August 17th through 20th at the Wisconsin Center. Presumptive nominee Joe Biden and his vice presidential running mate do plan to attend the event. Republicans also scaling back their 2020 convention as well. The coronavirus surges in Florida. The first 3 days of the convention will limit attendance to regular delegates, which is about 2,500 people. And until the final night, which features President Trump's address, will permit limited guests and alternate delegates. Initial plans were to stage the convention at an indoor arena with a 15,000-seat capacity. But now the party will make use of a mix of ballparks, amphitheaters, other outdoor venues throughout the week. Rap superstar, kind of a loose term there, Kanye West is qualified to appear in Oklahoma's presidential ballot. It's the first state where he met the requirements before the filing deadline. Still, there's confusion about whether or not West is actually running. A report in New York Magazine's The Intelligencer this week said the rapper was dropping his White House bid. But an Oklahoma Board of Elections spokeswoman said that West filed the necessary paperwork and paid the $35,000 filing fee Wednesday afternoon. He's already missed the deadline to qualify for the ballot in several other states. American professional sports leagues are all working to get back on the court, rink, and the field. But what about putting fans back in the stands? Lawmakers say they keep hearing from their sports fans' constituents asking when they'll be able to have a dog and a beer at the ballpark. Washington correspondent Morgan Wright reports based on the CDC guidelines and government guidance, it looks like it's wait until next year.
These stadiums could be places where literally thousands of people get infected.
As professional sports leagues find ways to play during the pandemic, Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy says cheering fans should not be part of the plan.
I don't think there's any circumstance in which fans should be back in football stadiums.
Murphy says watching on TV or through enhanced virtual experiences may be all fans get this season.
I want to get back into these stadiums. I want to go see the Red Sox at Fenway, right? I want to go, see the Huskies play at Gamble. I just can live without doing that for a year.
It really depends on the risk that these NFL, the leagues are willing to take.
Lisa Delpy-Narati with George Washington University says if they are allowed back, fans are likely to see capacity limited to 30 to 50%, risk waivers, and mandatory masks.
Ultimately, it's really up to the fans to help stop this virus.
Lawmakers agree athletes and fans' eventual return to sports must be done with caution to ensure everyone's safety.
Everybody wants to try to get back to normal.
Texas Congressman Will Hurd says there's not a one-size-fits-all solution here.
You need to have plans in place on how to address this based on the unique challenges on the ground.
Some sports are already welcoming fans back. A number of socially distanced fans returned to Bristol Motor Speedway for a race Wednesday. Reporting in Washington, I'm Morgan Wright.
And we are back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Central Arkansas Mahindra, the #1 Mahindra dealer in the South, and there's a reason for that. We're the king of package deals. Light trailer packages starting as low as $15,900, now with 2 locations. Central Arkansas Mahindra, the official tractor of tough.
Hi, I'm Sherry with Central Arkansas Fireplaces. Me and my husband, we love fire. We actually have 2 heat glow fireplaces in our home. We have the energy efficient gas 6000 CLX for convenience and energy output since we're out in the country. We also have a small heat and glow wood burning fireplace on our back deck for roasting marshmallows with the grandkids. Everyone has different lifestyles and heating needs. So whether you're after a certain look or need something more energy efficient, come see us at Central Arkansas Fireplaces, where we know fireplaces.
Central Arkansas Mahindra, the #1 Mahindra dealer in the South, and there's a reason for that. We're the king of package deals. And with locations in Little Rock and now in Bryant, the deals are even better. Central Arkansas Mahindra, the official tractor of tough.
Watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
No more papers, no more show. That is it for this week's Capitol View. We're back with an all-new one next week. Make sure you get the Capitol View podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.